continue on with the notion of celebration of life in honor of Bernadine. I am not Bernadine, but I am Ruth Bernadette. So let's talk about the life of Ruth Bernadette. The annual physical. We all have them, right? Raise your hand if you go. Be shamed if you don't. All right, you need to go. So I have my annual physical about 3 weeks ago. And I get in the office and she says to me, "So tell me, how are you doing?" "I'm fine." "Any particular cares or concerns?" "Well, actually I do, Doc. See, lately I've been having these two particular symptoms going on. One of them is I've been having this pain in my shoulder. Now when I start to raise my arm, it starts to hurt. And I've had a little pain in my lower back. And it's really kind of irritating to me. So, and it's been going on for a while. So she asks me a lot of questions and I answer them. And she says, "Okay, all right, well, that's fine." And she says, "What else is going on?" "Well, actually, I've been a little fatigued, just a little bit. But it's been consistently going on with this fatigue." So she said, "Okay, all right. Well, let's do this. After we go through the whole litany of, take your blood pressure, your height, your weight, and all of that," she says, "let's do this. Let's run some blood. Let's run a blood test. And let's take an x-ray. Let's take an x-ray of those areas where you're having these pains, and let's run a blood test to see what's happening with your blood." "Okay, sure, not a problem. We do this every year." I am very, very healthy. So I do all that. I get a phone call the next day. And the assistant says, "Well, Dr. Abrams says that your white blood cell counts are low. And rather than be concerned about it right now, she wants you to have your blood tested a week from now. In the meantime, go on and have a CAT scan." So I said, "Okay." I'm sorry, the x-ray. So I get the x-rays done. And by the way, she says, the x-rays are fine because they came back too. X-rays are fine, but your white blood count is low. All right. So she says she wants to see you in a week. In the meantime, I go and I get my blood taken again. And I go back to my doctor 8 days later, and she says, "Well, Ruth, not really happy about this. The white count's up a little bit, but not enough. And the x-ray didn't show us anything. But I know you're having all this pain here and pain there, and it's been going on since about October, so let's get you a CAT scan." So I go and have the CAT scan. That was a pretty interesting experience. You lay on this table and you go under and they shoot you up with that dye and all that stuff. It was not fun, but came back fine. No problems. I'm healthy. Just have this low white blood count. So she says, "I want you to see a hematologist." Oops, screen, stop, hold. I'm not liking that too much. Hematologist, that's the blood doctor. That can be pretty scandalous, depending upon what comes out of this. So, of course, I work at a library. First thing I do is I run back. I don't even ask her questions about, okay, what could this be? I just say, "Okay, all right, you tell me, you set it up and I'll go see this hematologist." I go back to the library and I begin my search. I want to know everything that I need to know in the privacy of my own home so I can have my own meltdown if need be. I don't want her telling me this stuff. And I want to make sure that I fully understand what the consequences might possibly be before she tells me, and then I'll know what extra questions to ask her. Because right about now, I'm in take charge mode. This is all about me now. I was okay with a little low blood count, but now she's telling me she wants me to see the blood doctor. So I go and I look. I've got the reference librarians. I'm saying, "Okay, tell me, how do we search this thing?" Well, I found this one, WebMD. online. And I find out that white blood cells are made in the bone marrow, and they protect the body against infection. Okay? And that the blood count should be anywhere between 4,500 and 11,000. Well, mine started out at 2.6. That was the first count. Then it went up to 2.95. So I'm way below where it should be. And white blood cells protect the body against infection. But I feel great. I feel fine. Just a little fatigue, little pains here and there, but mostly I'm great. So then I go further. Okay, so now I know what the white blood cells do for you. I go to Gale Encyclopedia of Medicine. This is a resource that provides detailed information about approximately 1,750 topics. And I look it up. Once again, white blood cell counts provide a clue to the presence of illness. Fighting infection and attacking foreign material, while extra white cells are needed. The bone marrow increases production. I still feel pretty good. But here's what it says. When your white blood cells are low, that's called leukopenia. Too close to leukemia for me. And in some cases, it could be a sign of an autoimmune disease. Now, what is that? Autoimmune disease. Well, I go further. I go to the American Medical Association Complete Medical Encyclopedia online, because I need to find out what's going on here. And I find out that leukopenia, remember that's low white blood cells, are normally low. They're common, but they're also common in nutritional deficiencies. So, I remember last year that my former doctor told me that my vitamin D count was low. She put me on 15,000 megagrams, mgs of vitamin D. So maybe that's what it is. I go to Helium, and this is another resource site of writers, but they have to sign an agreement that says everything they're saying is true. Some known causes of low white blood counts are as follows: being African American and vitamin deficiency. I'm feeling pretty good right about now. Okay, so causes of vitamin D deficiency. Not enough sunlight, people. My office is in the lower level of the library. I spend 8 hours down there. I'm not getting enough vitamin D. And you remember I said my bones were hurting? Well, you know, not enough vitamin D going to the bones. Could it be rickets? I don't know. I'm not claiming it, but things are looking pretty good for me right about now. So I need to intake the vitamin D. And what about this thing about, you know, African Americans? Well, I looked that up too. And I found in the Blood Journal Hematology Library.org that this study says that, in fact, while it is customary to apply the same reference ranges to patients with diverse ancestral origins, this was a study, hematologic differences between African Americans and whites. The role of iron deficiency and something on hemoglobin levels, all about white count cells. While it is customary to apply the same reference ranges to patients with diverse ancestral origins, it has been known for some time that there are differences, particularly between normal values obtained from subjects with European or African American ancestry. So I go back to the doctor. I see the hematologist, and he tells me, you look great, you look fine, I can't really figure out what's going on with you. And I said, okay, so then tell me why I would be feeling, you know, pretty okay, everything looks normal. The only thing I can tell you is that African Americans tend to have lower white count cells than other races. Okay, and then I go back to my doctor and I tell her what the hematologist says, and she says, well, you know, when you look at your records, it looks like since 2007 you've had a low count. Well, you know, they do say that African Americans tend to have a lower white count. I'm feeling really good, and my vitamin D count is too low. So the moral of this story is I love John Denver because he says Sunshine on my shoulder makes me happy and healthy. So now I have all the research, and I believe my only issues is I need to get out in the sun more often. And as James, who said it? Say it loud. I'm black and I'm proud today because my low white count cells are just normal for who I am.